So today is all about the fern with the golden fronds. This would make a fantastic houseplant fern. If you're into ferns, as far as I'm concerned anyway, if you're in the UK as well, this really is something that is dead easy to get hold of, and it's an absolutely brilliant fern. There are some ferns that I would really like to see in the UK for sale, but unfortunately, despite my best efforts, I've not been able to lay my hands on them, but this certainly would make a really close second. So if you're into your ferns, take a look at this one. So this fern here is Pteris quadriaurita tricolor, and this is a cultivar. Now I have a few things to mention about this. So first of all, this really does have golden fronds. Now you can see the adult ones here that don't have a golden colour, but you just happen to have caught me at a time when it's almost about to start with some golden colour. It's kind of in between. So what you find is that the older leaves do turn more of a green. The very young leaves are like a bronzy colour like this. I'm calling them leaves, of course they're fronds. But once they get a little bit bigger, like this one here that I've got in my hand, and the very young one here, will develop a really golden colour. And if you don't believe me, take a look at some of the photos that I'm putting up on screen. They have not been doctored, they've not been altered. It truly does get golden fronds. They are quite a sight to see. Now I'm really pleased with the growth that it's got on here. Yes, I know some of the fronds have got a little bit of brown on them. That's only to be expected in a greenhouse when you have temperatures approaching 38 degrees as we had a couple of weeks ago. As with all ferns, they don't really want temperatures so high. Really, they don't want it anything like as high, but this one has coped. Just a few little crispy bits at the bottom. I've kept it hydrated and it's still doing really well. So what happened to this one over winter is it completely died down. Now that is not because it does that anyway. It's not deciduous. It did that because it had an attack of spider mite. And practically everything in the greenhouse had an attack of spider mite, as you might know if you've been watching some of my more recent videos. So I cut it back. One of the best ways to get rid of spider mite if you don't want to spray is to cut right back to the base, because if there's nothing to eat, then they will die off, and that's what happened to this. I didn't know at the time that it would come back. I just did that because I did actually spray it, and sometimes, especially if you use systemics can affect some plants really adversely, and the whole thing just died back. So I cut it right back down to the base and it re-sprouted, which I was really pleased about because this is one of my favourite ferns. So it's not a particularly rare one. You can easily get hold of Pteris quadriaurita. A couple of things to mention about it, and I've got one of my subscribers to thank for a little bit of the legwork on this. I'm trying to think of his name. What I'll do is I'll put his name up on screen just to give him a little shout out. So quadriaurita. So first of all, I put an Instagram post, I think, or a Facebook post, and I said, what's this quadriaurita? What's the difference between the quad and the tri? You know, you've got a 4 and a 3. It didn't seem to make any sense. So Pteris quadriaurita is the species. I believe there are several species, and the quad refers to this little arrangement here. So you can see you've got 4. These are called pinnae. One of those is a pinnae, or is it a pinnate? Pinnae. I'm not totally 100% certain of my information there. I think that all of them together is pinnae, and I think one of them is pinnate. Might be wrong on that. I'll put something on screen to correct that if I am. And you can see you've got 4 kind of sprouting from the one single mid-rib. You see that mid-stalk that goes through the middle of the frond? So you've got 4 there together, and then they're just in 2s after that. So the quad refers to that 4. Aurita is Latin, which refers to ears, so it's kind of like 4 ears. So you get this really strange arrangement. It's actually really pretty, and I've wondered what made it look different. And it's obviously the fact that, yes, you've got the usual pairing, and then you've got this in 4 here. Now, if you just look at a standard fern, whether you can call ferns standard, they're all in 2s. The pinnae come off in 2s. You don't have the 4 at the base. So this is one that was just growing in an orchid pot and I just happened to rescue. And we've also got over here one of the usual kind of maidenhair ferns. Again, it didn't really appreciate being in 38 degrees, so you can see there's a few crispy bits there which I'll have to cut out. But yeah, Pteris quadriaurita. So I really love this fern. So we know why it's called quadriaurita. Tricolor is the cultivar, so obviously that refers to the various colours. Whether you would pick bronze, green and gold as your three colours, I would tend to. I don't know what other colours they're talking about there. Really beautiful, beautiful fern. And I don't see why this wouldn't grow well in a house. I did have it at a minimum of 17 degrees, so it's quite happy there in those higher temperatures. So again, you know, that's the kind of temperature that you would have in a house, so it would be great in that kind of a situation. I would say probably higher humidity, but again, I don't think it's that bothered. In my experience with humidity, it's, how can I put this? It's kind of overemphasized as to how important it is, unless we're talking about the extremes. So unless we're talking about very, very low consistent humidity or consistently high, very high humidity, they seem to be the areas of the scale that cause the problems. And over in the UK, we generally have it round about 50 to 80, but we do have times, as we have had this summer, where it's been quite low for quite a length of time. You know, you're talking 6, 7, 8 weeks even, where it's been well below 40 in the greenhouse, and nothing has happened to it other than what happened to it over winter. It's perfectly fine, perfectly happy. So I've had it in the higher temperature, I've had it down to 7 degrees in the winter time, no problem whatsoever. So in my experience, I think this would be a really nice houseplant, and of course it is sold as a houseplant. So if you're into your ferns, have a look at this one, Pteris quadriaurita tricolor. So let me see, we've covered temperature, we've covered humidity, fertilizer. Yes, I put some of the slow release fertilizer balls at the beginning of the year. It will actually grow all year round if you've got it in the house, so I've got it in the right temperatures. So I would expect you to be fertilizing it pretty much all the time, so long as it's growing, you know, it's in a growing phase. It likes to be kept moist but not wet, so you don't want it sitting in some water at the bottom there. You want it to be well drained, but at this time of year I'm having to water it most days. It does not want to be dry for too long, but it doesn't want to be soggy either, so you've just got to keep an eye on things. I just simply stick my finger on the top, and if it feels damp then I don't water it. If it feels dry then I water it. But as I say, this time of year in August it tends to be most days, whether it's warm outside or not. So that's Pteris quadriaurita. Absolutely love it, and I am waiting still for a particular fern. It's a maidenhair fern that I've not been able to get my hands on, and if anybody knows where I can get one, I'll put that up on screen as well. I would be most grateful. Beautiful, beautiful thing. How can you not love this? A tropical fern for the house. So that's it for now. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.